All right, let's continue to the Sicha of the Rebbe. If we remember, this is a Sicha that the Rebbe said, a speech that the Rebbe made in 1992, very shortly before his stroke that disabled him and made it impossible for him to speak. And so this is if you remember, what was the Rebbe talking about? The Rebbe said that this week's Torah portion, even though it seems to contain things that don't have any connection to one to the other, and exactly the opposite, it seems to be perhaps the most disconnected and how do you want to call it, confused, jumbled up Torah portion of all of the Torah, because it has the best and the worst. It has that Moses went up to Mount Sinai and he got the first tablets, which they were the work of God, and then he heard the Jewish people worshiping the golden calf, which that's the worst, and then he broke the tablets, which that's terrible, and then he asked God for forgiveness, which that's really good, and then he went up on the mountain and he got the second tablets, which weren't as holy as the first tablets were. And so that's like sort of good and sort of bad. And then afterwards, it talks about the holidays, which have absolutely nothing to do with anything that we talked about before. So what's it all got to do with one another? So the Rebbe says, really, it's one big, amazing, meaningful unit, perhaps the most meaningful unit in the whole Torah. So the Rebbe says, okay, in order to understand this, first of all, let's have a little sort of preparation. Let's have a little, how do you say, on education. We have to do orientation. That's the word. Orientation about what is going on in the world. What is the world? So the Rebbe says creation in general and all things really can be divided into three: beginning, middle, and end. Beginning, middle, and end. Everything has its beginning, its middle, and its end. So the same thing is also, we see that there's the Torah. The Torah is before the world. And also we see the Torah also starts with the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet, Aleph. And then we have the world, that's Breshit. That's the creation of the whole world. That's the letter B, Beit. That's the second thing. And then we have the third thing, which is the final ultimate redemption, which will be revealed godliness in the world. And we'll see why this whole world was here all the time. And everything will become meaningful. That's called Geula, that's Gimel. So we have Aleph, Beis, Gimel. Aleph is Anochi, that's the Torah. Beis is Breshit, the world. And Gimel is Geula, is the final redemption. Similarly, we can see in the Torah itself. 1 minute. There you go. In the Torah itself, we see that there are three levels. What are the three levels? We have Breshis Bor Elokim. We have, first of all, the creation of the world. Then after that, we talk about everything that happened in the world, right? Abraham and etc. And then finally, the end of the Torah, which is Moshe, the last words of the Torah, Ada Yom Acharon, says to the last day. That's called the end of all of the miracles, etc. Called a Mora Gadol, the fear that Moshe did in front of the eyes of the Jewish people. This is the completion of the Torah. This refers to what's going to be God, the Jewish people, the world will see all the miracles that God did. This is talking about the future redemption by means of the Mashiach. That Moshe, it says, he is the first redeemer and he's the after redeemer. So as we see in the Torah, also the same thing. The Torah starts off with Breshit, God creating the world. Then the whole rest of the Torah, all the things that happened in the middle. And then finally it says that Moses talks about the great miracles that Moshe did. And Moshe, that hints at the final redeemer, which is going to be the Mashiach. There'll be total redemption in the world. Le'enei kol Yisrael, like the days going out of Egypt, there will be big miracles. Okay, so what do we see? We have Aleph, Beis, Gimel. The whole Torah, all world can be divided into beginning, middle, and end. The beginning is before God creates the world, or the first, second instant of creation. Then there's the whole entire world. And the final grand finale will be the Moshiach, who he will reveal the godliness in the world, physical world. This is also hinted at in Pirkei Avot. First of all, in the beginning of Pirkei Avot, it says Moshe received the Torah from Mount Sinai. This is the whole idea of the Torah, Kibbutz Torah. Like it says that everything which an expert pupil will learn was given to Moshe at Mount Sinai. Now, there's all the things that are written in the Talmud and etc. All the rabbis today that say laws, is this is given to Moshe on Mount Sinai. Everything was there in a encapsulated form. That's the beginning of Pirkei Avot, the ethics of the fathers. Then it says, what does it say after that? Moses gave the Torah to Yoshua and etc. And how the came to the final of the Anshe Knesset, the men of the great assembly, and they said, make a lot of pupils. This is the whole order of how the Torah was given through all of the generations. So first of all, we have Moses getting the Torah. Then we have all of the generations of Torah that they learned Torah through all the generations until now. And finally, we have the end of Pirkei Avot is Hashem Yimloch L'olam. That's the last, right at the very end. That God will rule forever and ever. This is the whole entire time until the end of time, when Mashiach will come and he will also rule over the whole world. And he'll show the true purpose and the true essence and godliness of the Torah. So we can say that this is one of the reasons why the Torah is always number 3. The Torah is connected to the number 3. Like it says, Brich Rachmana Diahav, blessed is God who gave, Oraita Talitai, La'am Talitaya, Al Yedei Talitaya, Beyom Talitaya, Beyarcha Litaya. It says, blessed is God who gave the triple Torah to the triple nation by means of the number 3, on the 3rd day, on the 3rd month. So what does it mean? The Torah is triple. What does it mean? There's Torah, and there's the Nevi'im, and there's the Ketuvim. There's the Torah, and then there's all the prophets, and then there's all the writings like the Psalms and the whatever the Proverbs, etc. The Jewish people are also 3. So the Torah is 3: Torah, Nevi'im, and Ketuvim. The Jewish people are 3. There's Kohanim, Levim, Yisraelim. By means of the number 3, Moshe, he was the 3rd one that was born. He was the 3rd. There was Miriam and Aaron and Moshe. On the 3rd day of the 3rd month, he was given, the Torah was given the 3rd day in the 3rd month. There's other 3s also. What does it mean, the 3rd day? The Torah was given on Tuesday? I don't think so. All right, maybe yes. And on the 3rd month, I'll have to look what that is. What does it mean, the 3rd day? But okay, nevertheless, it was given on the 3rd day. It's we have to say that these 3 things were given in a revealed way in our Torah portion. The first tablets, that they were given were the 10 Commandments. That was at Mount Sinai. That's the number 1. Now we're talking about our Torah portion. What does our Torah portion talk about? It talks about the giving of God. Moses went up on Mount Sinai, received the Torah, and he broke it, and God gave him a 2nd tablets. But God gave him forgiveness in 2nd tablets. So first of all, we have the first tablets. That's like the number 1. Number 1 is, on these first tablets were carved the first 10 commandments that were said in Mount Sinai. That's the Aleph, the Anochi, the beginning and the foundation of everything. The Torah is the foundation also of the Torah and also of the world. The world was created for the sake of the Torah. It says even more that on the 6th day of creation, God says, Yom HaShishi, says what? That the whole world only depends on Yom HaShishi, the sixth day. What you mean, the sixth day? The sixth day of Sivan. That's when the Torah was given. So it says the whole entire world depends on the Torah. The Torah was there before the world was given. And the whole world just depends on if the Jews will receive the Torah. So that's the number one, are these tablets. Right, we're saying everything is threes, right? So the number one is the tablets. Number two is the sin of the golden calf. That brought about the breaking of the tablets. This hints at the letter base. This also brought the whole entire world down. Breshit Boro, it brought the whole entire Breshit, broke the tablets, broke the world. That it was Shenotenet Makom, because the world all of a sudden, like there was a big place in the world for sin and for going against the Torah. Breaking the tablets. Like it's known that the sin of the golden calf, which that's connected to the sin of Adam eating from the tree, this comes from what's called the Tzimtzum Rishon v'Shvirat HaKelim, afterwards, Kitruk HaLavana. If you remember when we learned the Chassidut, that it teaches, how did God create the world? So the Isaac Luria, the Arizal, he explains that the world was created, but nevertheless it did not in any way disturb or affect in any way God's oneness, because God did this amazing thing called the Tzimtzum, which means the contraction. And it explains that God somehow or other hid his oneness. His oneness is still there, and God's light is still there. Nothing changed, but God did this trick to change it. But nevertheless, it changed it. It was hidden. And because of this hiding of the oneness, so first of all, God is one. That's the beginning. Number two is God made this contraction or this concealment. So that corresponds something like the first tablets. That's like God's oneness. And the sin of the golden calf, that's like this contraction of this concealment. And after this contraction that God made, and he wanted it to be there to make the world, but after all this, this gives a possibility for sin. Actually, God created a world, and the world seems to be crying out that there's something separate from God. And that's also inside of us. That same voice is calling out that there's something outside of God. And what is that? It's me. And here I am. I'm outside of God. In fact, who says that I'm outside of God? God is outside of me. I'm the main thing. And then it gets to the point, who says there is such a thing as God? Maybe there's just me. And that's the whole idea of the golden calf and the breaking of the tablets. And the intention is that by means of what we do, no matter how low we are, nevertheless, this is still what God wants, right? God wants there to be the potential of sin. And in some way, we have to say in some weird way, and only the Rebbe can say this, that God wanted there to be the sin. It's like step number two. Of course, this is a very dangerous thing to say, and I would never say it, but the Rebbe said it. And we can't say there's something outside of God, that something happened outside of God's will. So it must be somehow or other that this is part of the whole picture, the sin of the golden calf. That's step number two. Step number three are the last tablets. That represents the letter Gimel. And this comes by means of the breaking of the tablets. It's even more. If you look in the Torah, you'll see a very strange thing. The last words of the Torah, God is praising Moses. And he said the amazing miracles that Moses did to the eyes of all the Jews, before all the Jews. It says, what was this amazing miracle and sign that Moses did in front of all the Jews? So what do you mean? There was a lot of things. He did 10 plagues. He split the sea. He brought manna from heaven, right? He brought the Torah down. It says, no. It says what was the big miracle that Moses did in front of everybody? That he broke the tablets. Look and see, that's what Rashi says. Nisu libo, that it rose up in his heart to to break the tablets in front of all the Jews, like it says, "V'ashabrim le'enechem." Like Moses said, I broke the tablets in front of you. V'skimu data kodesh baruch hu, and God agreed to Moses. Asher shibarta. Yesher koach. Asher means like happy. Asher shibarta. Yesher koach. It's a good thing. Yesher is the same, like the same letters. Good that you broke them. That's what the Torah says. At first glance, says the Rebbe, what's going on over here? What could possibly be the good thing about breaking the tablets until God says to Moses, great that you broke them. Yeshlomo, we can say, Abir Bazeh, the explanation is, and now let's not make a mistake over here. The breaking of the tablets and the sin that caused it, the worshiping of the golden calf, was the biggest mistake and the biggest tragedy and the biggest sin, right? And that it could possibly be. I mean, even when the first temple and the second temple was destroyed, right? Our enemies did not destroy the tablets. It says that the tablets were hidden down underneath the holy temple, that they're still there somewhere. The tablets were there. Here, and when the sin of the golden calf, it broke the tablets. The worst possible thing that could happen in the world, and it was because of the worst possible sin. But nevertheless, God said to Moshe, it's a good thing you broke them. Yesha koach. This is the big miracle that Moses did in front of all the Jewish people. How could this be? How can we reconcile this? That's what the Rebbe is going to do here. We're going to see. Yeshlom, we have to say, just like the sin. This, by the way, will give us a certain empowerment when we think about the bad things that we've done in our life. That we should know that, okay, you shouldn't have done it. It was a big mistake. Could be you'll really get punished for it. Let's see, I will really get punished. Could be, but you have to know that after everything was exactly what God wanted. Now you have to fix it up. Because if the worst sin possible was exactly what God wanted, somehow or other, that God said to Moses, good thing you broke the tablets. So it must be an amazing lesson to us, and we're going to see what it is. And this, of course, is going to be connected to the Mashiach, the Geula, the future redemption. Just like by means of the sin of the Egel, by means of the sin of the golden calf, there was added to the Jewish people this thing of tshuva, of repentance. Because of this, that was why the sin happened. It says that a Baal Tshuva is even higher than a tzaddik. Like it says, the place where Bali Tshuva stand, the tzaddikim can't stand there until they're not even able to stand there. Also in regard to the breaking of the tablets that came from the sin of the golden calf, that the inner reason for all of this terrible tragedy and catastrophe is b'chadei, that only by means of this, yidvosef iloi b'Torah, that there should be an advantage raising up in the Torah. The last tablets, that there should be an advantage to the last tablets, that the second tablets somehow or other in many ways were better than the first ones. The first ones, the tablets were, the body of the tablets was from God, and the writing God wrote. And the second one, it says that Moses did the whole thing, like the rabbi said. Nevertheless, God said to Moshe Rabbeinu, because Moses was so brokenhearted because he broke the tablets, Al titzter, don't worry. But the first tablets, Haluchos Rishonos Shelo Hayu Ela Asara Devoros. In the first tablets, there were only 10 commandments. Ubaluchat Ashniot, in the second tablets, Anino Tenlacha, I'm going to give, which I'm going to give to you. There will be halachos, midrash, agada, kiflayim latoshia. So you're going to have the Talmud, you're going to have agadas, you're going to have all these wonderful rabbis, rabbinical ideas. It's going to be twice as much power as it was in the first. like the Torah, like the Gemara says, if the Jewish people would have not have sinned with the golden calf, then they would have received 5 books of the Torah, and also the book of Yoshua. Yoshua, when he came into the land of Israel, conquered the land of Israel. Like it says, Ki barov chachma rov kas. Like it says, with a lot of wisdom, there's a lot of anger. What does it mean? Lefi sheba'atu, because they Jewish people rebelled and they sinned, so God got Rov Chachma. He gave them a tremendous amount of wisdom because they made God mad. So he gave them Rov Kas. So he gave them more and more Torah, Latricham Yota, that they should be more occupied. So we got more Torah. This is the advantage of the second tablets, that they were this is that Moses made them, not God, like the first tablets. The mila of the first tablets, the advantage of the first tablets, the advantage of the first tablets, we said that was for the Aleph. What do we say? The first tablets were the letter Aleph, that was step number 1. The sin of the golden calf and the breaking of the tablets, that's step number 2. And step number 3 was the second tablets. We're going according to this principle that the Rebbe said that everything is a beginning, a middle, and an end. The thing of the first tablets, the letter Aleph, is that the Torah was given from above, and this is the power to serve God from below, Aleph and Gimel. Like simple. The Aleph is the beginning of all the letters, and from Aleph comes all the other letters, base Gimel. But because the letter Aleph on its own, namely revelation from above, this is not incomparable, and it cannot really permeate into the physical world. We see that when God gave the Torah to the Jews, they said, we can't take it, it's too much. The world, the Torah as it is, the Aleph, it can't really come, step number 1 can't come to step number 2, the bait of Bereshit. So therefore, we can see that there has to be a breaking, just like God, when God's oneness was too much, and he had to make this tzimtzum in order to make the world. And why? Because from the side, from God's point of view, everything was okay, but from the world's point of view, the world is not prepared for receiving this Aleph, the oneness of God. Therefore, in the beginning of the Torah doesn't start with the letter Aleph. The Torah starts with the letter Beit. Why? The intention is to show that this world is only step number 2. Don't think that this world is God. This world is not step number 1. The world is only step number 2, to show we have to put the Aleph, we have to put something into the world. The intention is that we have to work from below, avoda b'chavvav, in the 26 generations until Matan Torah, they had to work, which is not the case. So that's the first tablet. The first tablets are too high. They're wonderful, it's beautiful, they're pure, but the purpose is supposed to be put into the world, and the world can't take it, which is not the case. The last tablets, Shaboim, that they came purely, they don't come directly from God, they came from the work of man. The Jewish people had to do tshuva, and Moshe had to make the tablets. These tablets, they are made by Moses. Mitmales Tachlis, this is really indicating the purpose and the intention why God made the world, that there should be revealed in the world how that the whole world is Bishvil Torah. It says Bereshit, Beit Reshit 2. Rashi says that the world was created for 2 things, the Torah and the Jews. So if there would have just been Torah step number 1, is you wouldn't have seen why the world was created. The world was the world was separate from the Torah. The Torah is too high. Therefore, by means of this Torah, the last tablets, they were the ones that permeated the world. Therefore, there was no breaking at all. Exactly the opposite. There was added in the second tablets double energy, double blessing. Just like the first tablets were complete below in a way that's eternal forever and ever. I'm saying the second tablets were eternal. Like we said, when they came and they conquered the temple, the first temple, the second temple, the tablets are always there. The tablets. In fact, the second tablets, this brings to the completion and, completeness of the world. The letter Gimel, the future redemption, then will be revealed the real highness of tshuva of the Jewish people because of the sin of the golden calf, namely the highness of the second tablets. So what's the Rebbe trying to say over here? What's the Rebbe trying to say? The world is in a terrible situation. It's confused. There's a lot of pain, a lot of confusion, a lot of heartbreaking concealment of God, a lot of sins, a lot of evil in the world, death and destruction, darkness, ignorance, everywhere you look. Nevertheless, says the Rebbe, in some weird way, this is exactly the way it's supposed to be. And not only the way it's supposed to be, but somehow or other, this is the best. How is it the best? I mean, it's not the best, it's the worst. It says we don't see it yet. In the future, redemption by means of Moshiach, and then we'll see. That's something like how the second tablets, they're the ones, the second tablets, they really retain their eternalness, and they're the ones that really were put into the holy temple, and that will bring godliness to the whole world. This, because they will cause us to work, to fill the purpose of the world, that the world was created for the sake of the Torah. If God would have just created the world perfect, then we wouldn't have had to work. The whole idea of work, overcoming ourselves, defying nature, this was only brought with the second tablets. So it comes out that Parshas Tisa, there are found all of these three things. The number 1, Aleph, that's the first tablets, Torah. Beit, the creation of the world, God created the world. And the Gimel, which is the completion of the world, Le'ene Kol Yisrael, that what God did and what God praised Moses for breaking the tablets, by breaking the first tablets, and God had to give the second tablets by means of the work and the tshuva of the Jewish people. This is what really gave the world its true deep meaning, as we're going to see, God willing, tomorrow. So in short, what did we learn? We learned that this Torah portion, in a way, summarizes the whole entire Torah. It has beginning, middle, and end. The beginning are the first tablets. The middle is the worshiping of the golden calf and the repentance of the Jewish people. And the final is the third tablets, which those are the ones which will bring the third, which will bring the complete and ultimate redemption of the Jewish people. And now let's do a little bit of the Yom Yom of today. How do I do this here? 1 second. I'm sorry, I got the wrong place. It wasn't. Oh, here it is. People see this? No, they don't see it. All right. Excuse me. 1 minute. Do not give up. There it is. There it is. Today is Hayom Yom. Today is the 18th day of Adar. After you drink wine and you eat one of the 7 fruits, the final blessing should be Al Priya Geffen ve ala peros, Baruch Atah Hashem, ala Geffen ve ala peros. I'm sorry. Ala Geffen. Let's start it again. After drinking wine and eating one of the 7 fruits, you say, Baruch Atah Hashem, al ve'al priya gefen ve'al aperos, Baruch Atah Hashem, right? And then you end by saying al priya gefen ve'haperos. You don't say ve'al. You leave this word al out in the end of the blessing, right? After you say Baruch Atah Hashem, you leave the word al out. Okay. My grandfather wrote in one of his, this is for utter bait. It is necessary to study some of the written Torah every day with Rashi. You should study the Chumash portion with Rashi every day, because they are the best of the interpretations of the rabbis. And at least everybody should try to finish one tractate of the Talmud every year. One tractate, take the whole year and finish one. Thank you very much. God bless you. Have a good day with Moshiach now. And the next class is at 3:00. Everyone is invited. Please come, bring your friends. So thank you very much for coming.